Okay, so enough with the sideshows, and let's get back to the business at hand of building these GP35s. So this step that I'm working on is building these, let me get one out, the coupler lift bars. I don't know if you can see see if we can get the focus on my hand. See the coupler lift bar there. I still have to do the loop that comes out over the coupler, but first I got to get the sides built. So let me get the camera set up over here. I have a few things to show you, like the tools that I use and such, what my measurements are for this, and a bit of an explanation of how I go about it. And I got one more to do. I've got the front or back done. I just have one side that I have to do, and I'll show that on camera. And I'll do my best to show it up close so you can see the bends, understand how I go about this. So let me get the camera set up. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the camera set up, and we're going to bend the wire for one end. So first of all, let me show you my measurements here. There's two types of coupler lift bars. I determine for myself. There's two types of coupler lift bars. There's actually more than that, but for my modeling, there's two. There's a type 1 that does not have this handle on it, that it just comes straight across and then down. And then there's a type 2 that has this handle out on the end. The type 2s came in close to around the mid 70s, maybe around late 73 or 74, something like that. I don't know exactly when, but up until then it was what I call the type 1 that'll just come across, like if this was the center line of the pilot plate, come across and then just go down. This portion here is if you're looking at this end, and the pilot plate is right here, and so where the return bend back into the pilot plate. Now I don't have a measurement on there because I do that by building the coupler lift bar first, making sure this end is hanging straight down or parallel with the pilot plate, and then determining how much I need to cut off here. So if you want to stop the video real quick, you can get an idea or write this down. So this is the main bar that goes all the way across. So from the main bar to the top of the handle portion, the type 2, is 0.15. The width from one side to the other side of the handle is 0.08. And from the center line again of the main bar, this return bend is even with this main bar. So from here down to where it turns back into the pilot plate is 0.12, or 120 thousandths. So let me leave that there for just a second. You can stop the video and draw a picture of it, or take a screenshot of it, or something like that. Okay, so understanding that, let me zoom in a little bit and show you what I got to put my optivisors on here. So this is the tool I use for measuring. It's just a steel scale. So these are 50ths and 100ths. So I need to measure only this portion right here, the 120 thousandths. So from this edge, so the 1 is 100 thousandths, and then the first mark after the 1 is 20 thousandths. On the 100ths side, each one of these graduations is 10 thousandths. Each one of these graduations on the 50th side is 20 thousandths. So I need to measure up to the 120. And you'll see that I've got something like that. There's a center right there. So there's one that's built. And of course this is the other side that's built. So let's build two more of these. Don't want the tweezers to snap these across the room. Alright, so the way that I do that, the next tool I have is a pair of, let me zoom out a little bit, is some flat nose pliers. Now if you look at the end, you'll notice that one side is narrower or not as thick as the other side. Now this isn't true on all flat nose pliers. It just happens to be what is on this set. These are really old. I think my dad got a set of these at Ace Hardware about 400 million years ago. But they work for me. I've been using them forever, and so I use them. Now, ideally, it would be nice if these ends were ground flat and everything was perfect on them and all that stuff, but that's not going to happen. So, what I do, let me get a piece of wire out. I'm using 12.5 thousandths titchy wire. So there's a piece of wire there. So what I do is I put a piece of wire, let me zoom out a little bit more. There. So I put a piece of wire in there. Oh, actually first I make an L bend in the wire. So let's do that first. So real quick, let me get my wire out. Hopefully you can see this on camera. The other tool I use is a diamond file. This is a fine diamond file. I think I got these off of a set of these off of eBay. They come in like 5 different shapes. And this is fine. I also have some medium, but I've never used the medium. I'm always using the fine, a diamond file. So I'll come in here and I'll just clean up the end. Don't really need to clean this end up because it's going to get cut off anyways, but I like to clean it up. Then I'll take the pliers. I'll put it right across the pliers. I got the large end down. I do that because I always bend against the same edge or the same side. So I put that in there, and the wire will hang out approximately, let me see if I can get some more light on this. Hopefully it won't glare too much there. So I let the end hang out about 60 thousandths, so it doesn't really matter, it just needs to hang out a bit. And I'll just make the L bend, just like that. Large side of the pliers, go in there and just press it against the surface. Release it, and I look to see it's slightly more than 90 degrees or slightly less than 90 degrees, whichever side you're looking at, and I'll just tweak it out a little bit. Make sure that this is 90 degrees right there. Visually 90 degrees. It's probably not perfect, but visually it looks like it's 90 degrees. Next is large side of the pliers. I'll be bending against that. So this is going to be the return bend back to the pilot plate. So I'm going to put the wire into the pliers, squeeze the pliers so it holds it in place. Now it's not going to be perfectly, in line with the pliers. That's okay. We just want to make sure it's vertically straight up and down. Then I'm going to take the scale rule, and I don't think you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to set it against the large end of the pliers, and right now it's at 100 thousandths, so I need to come up just a bit. Now, when I say just a bit, that there's no real meaning to that other than visually I'm making a mental picture of how much I need to move it up. So then I'll come in with some chisel pliers, or chisel tweezers, and I'm going to push them up against the top of the pliers, and then that mental picture I took, I'm going to release the pliers just a little, and I'm going to pull the wire out till it looks like it sticks out about as much that the gap between the tip of the tweezers and the end of the pliers looks like the mental picture I took. So now I'll take that and I'll measure it again, and we are dead on 120 thousandths. The wire is virtually centered right on that. So now, depending on which way you squeeze the pliers, the wire is going to tweak one way or the other. It doesn't matter. So now I'm going to bend it over at the large end of the pliers, press it down, and we have our shape. Now, this isn't perfect. I don't know if you can see it, but if you look at it, this wire cants out toward the outside a little bit. So we're going to fix that. I'm going to put that right back into the pliers like that. And if you look at it, hopefully you can see that, it goes down a little bit. So I'm going to, this wire sticking in my face. So I'm going to come in here with these tweezers, and I'm just going to tweak it till it's perpendicular to the pliers. right there. So now we have everything is at a 90 degree, visually at a 90 degree. Now we need to cut this tip off so that this vertical portion of the coupler lift bar is parallel with the pilot plate. So here's where you'll see if your holes that you drilled through or the holes I drilled through my lift bar brackets are in line with each other. It looks pretty good. So now I'm going to push that all the way through, and I'm going to let the coupler lift bar ride on the outside edge of the pilot plate. Now I'm going to look at it down this way, and I'm going to make sure that this wire is bending pretty good, but that's okay. I'm going to make sure, and this is the other tool I use, it's sprue nippers. I have about 4 sets of these. A couple of them I use for cutting thin wire. I'm going to make sure that that coupler lift bar vertical run is perpendicular with this wire riding like that. It's really hard. It's such a long piece of wire. So anyway, let me zoom out so I can pull back on this. Okay, hold that like that. Adjust this so it's vertical. And I'm going to pinch it. Now it didn't cut it off, but it left a mark where I need to cut it. So I'll pull it out. I'm going to let the cutter, so the blades engage the groove that I just marked in it, and cut it. Now I'll come back and I'm just going to take the diamond file and just go over that. Let's see, is that in focus? Yes. And then just clean it up a bit. Now we'll see if that length is what I need. I don't want you having to stare at my fingers all the time. So now let's rotate this around and see. And that's perfect. So now I'll just hold it in place and I'll make a mark way over here. Oh, that one cut. Okay, well the wire of course fell on the floor, but I'll pick that up in a minute. But there you see one side done. Now I'll go ahead and do the other side. It's exactly the same way as I did that side, so I don't think you need to see that again. But after I get this side done, then I need to make the loops that go around. And the loops from the center line to the theoretical spot where the lift pin would be, which is basically the center of the this portion here where the coupler rotates on. That would be the theoretical center where the lift pin would be. So from the center line of the coupler lift bar out to the center line of this lift pin area is 200 thousandths. So I need to make my U-shaped or horseshoe-shaped thing 200 thousandths. But I'll go over that when it's time to make those. So I've got to do it first for these 5, right here, for these 5, and then again I'll come back and I will do it, show it on camera for the last one. Alright, so I have showed you how I bend the long pieces for the coupler lift bars, and now it's time to show you the loop that comes out or explain to you the loop that comes out over the coupler. Let me get this light positioned so we have some light on the subject here. So let me get the wire out here, which is right there, and we'll get this last one bent. I've got them all bent up for the for 5 of them, 5.5 of them. So there's 2, 4, 5 and a half. So there's 6. That'll be the 6th one. So let me get these out of the way and go over a few things here. So this is just going to be bending this like horseshoe shaped piece and giving the return bend down. When I'm done with all this, I will get the these installed on the sill units, except for the last one, and I'll show you how that all goes together. So let's get this last one bent. So the tools for this, I've got my vise, and I've got a piece of wire. If you can see it, let me zoom in on this here a little bit. There we go. I've got a piece of wire in there already, because if I didn't have this piece of wire in here, let me show you. When let's say this was the loop. If I close this, it's going to close on it, and then it's going to close on this side. So what that means, only one leg of the wire gets clamped while the other one is free to move around. So if you put a piece of wire in there the same size as what you're working on that'll go on this side, then when you close the vise down, it'll close down evenly across the vise jaws. So I need that. I got a block that I use for bending. I've got these bending pliers, which I bought a set of bending pliers through Micromark. They're really bad. Oh boy, are they bad. These ones I had to file out the inside here a little bit to give a better curvature, because the curvature was way off. And on this side, I had to do a little bit of fiddling to get it to fall into the bend and make the appropriate. Off screen here, I had to work on this side a little bit, and then the this loop. Let me see this one here. So this loop on the end here, the width to the outside can't be any more than about 1/4 inch. So I've ground the jaws of one side to 200 thousandths width, because the wire is 12 to 12.5 thousandths. So once you get both sides together, you're looking at approximately 25 thousandths or 1/4 inch total. So that's one of the tools. The other bending pliers I haven't even used, but this is the one I wanted, and it's not it's not precision. So just want to let you know that. I've got myself a set of sprue nippers for cutting the wire. Now I have like 4 sets of these sprue nippers. 2 of them I've used for cutting wire, and 2 of them I use for only cutting plastic. I got a little screwdriver here. Not funny, but a little history on this screwdriver. I got this screwdriver, I think, when I was a sophomore in high school. It came with a 1/25th scale remote controlled Tamiya M4 Sherman tank kit. So, but I've kept it all these years. It's always been a part of my tool kit. Then I've got tweezers. These tweezers I get at I think I got them at Walgreens. They're just your standard tweezers you get out of the cosmetic department. Let me see, I've got a diamond file, which I actually don't need it for this, so I'm going to put it away. So forget the diamond file. And I've got my measuring tool, which I will be using the 50 thousandth side. Okay, so let's get to bending one of these wires. Whoops. Alright, I want to get the light in here good. Find out where my center is. Alright, so in my jaws of the bending tool on this side, if you can see it, there's a groove right there that I cut into it, and there's a groove right there and one right there. I don't use this one in the back, I use the one up front. I think the one in the back was a mistake, so I just cut another one up front. So I'll take my wire and I'll extend this piece out a bit, get it in those grooves, and I'll squeeze it, bend it up, and I'll take my screwdriver and force the bend even tighter. Now you're going to see this is going to spring back when I take it out of the pliers. Now if I squeeze these pliers too hard, it's going to leave a crimp right on the corner. I've tried to file it out, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem to want to come out. So I just hold them tight. I don't go there and go and squeeze it down really, really tight. Then I just give it a quick squeeze, and that's that. So you'll see that it springs out a little bit. So we'll fix that. Take my flat nose pliers, and I'm going to put it, I'm not going to put it, see if I can get some. I'm not going to put it up against the high side of the bend. I'm going to put it right where the bend goes straight on the long legs. So I'm going to put it right down there, and then I'm just going to carefully tweak this wire straight. Just like that. So I'm going to go to the other side and do the exact same thing. Now it's going to pull this side in a little bit, so we just go back over here and we're just going to straighten that out. And then you just go and tweak it so it's all in line on the same plane, and there you have your U-shaped piece of wire. And it has a slight curvature at the front where it goes over the coupler, and that's so that when the coupler swivels on the prototype, it has it swivels with the on the curvature with the lift pin. See, let me just still out a little bit. You gotta just tweak it, make sure that it looks even. Yeah, that's good. Then I'm just going to come in here and cut this off. And now we'll make the bend that goes out over the coupler. So, I've got my piece of wire here. I'm going to put this in this side. And you're probably asking, well, how long do you make it? So somebody asked that, how long do you make it? Well, I'll answer that question for you. 200 thousandths. For using, now that's because we're using a KATO coupler. So from the center line of the bar that goes across the pilot plate to the lift handles that I showed you in the last clip to the center line of this U-shaped piece is 200 thousandths, so 0.2. So I'm going to put my ruler there, and it's just a little too high. So where are we at here? There we go. So I'm going to grab the wire, lift up on, or pull the tweezers up just a little bit to where I visually saw it, hold it, and then bring it down to the vise again. Now I'll measure that again, and still a little too high. So I'll do the same thing, bring it down, tighten it, and measure it again, and it's right on, dead on 200 thousandths. Now what I do is I look down at the U-shape to make sure that these edges, this end and this end, look like they're straight across from each other, and it looks like I need to tweak it up just a little bit. This side needs to come up just a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll take the plier or the tweezers, push them down against the top of the vise, grab this leg, loosen the vise just enough to loosen the wire, and then rotate it up just a little bit, tighten it down again. Now I look down it, and that looks really good. So now I'll take my block, and what's nice about this, if you went and just pushed it over with your fingers, you're liable to sometimes bend one leg a little bit tighter or longer than the other leg. So I'll take a block like this, I'll put it up against it, and what it's going to do, it's going to ride in this groove up against the wire so that both legs get bent perfectly and evenly. So put the block up against it and just rotate it over and press it down, and that's it. So there's the horseshoe loop that goes over the coupler, or where the lift pin would be. So I've got all 6 of these ready to go, and in the next clip you'll see bending these loops, bending these legs so that they go around, these pieces, and bending this piece out around so it looks like a real coupler. Now what you could do is you could just put these legs over those and just over the straight bars, glue it all together, cut off the excess and stuff like that. But I know how to do it, so I'm going to make it look like fairly like what the prototype looks like. And I can do it. I know how to do it quickly now. I've done this so many times, so it goes pretty good. Actually, doing all of this, I did all but this last one last night, so it was no big deal. Doing all these bars here, that took one evening also, and not even a full evening, because I would bend some, I'd go play the only computer game that I've ever played, and play a couple games, come back, bend some more, maybe go paint something, come back, bend a few more, maybe go play another game, stuff like that. And that breaks up the monotony of it and gets it done actually rather quickly. So I showed you how I made these horseshoe bends in the last clip. Now we're going to make the final product out of that, which is the bending the loop to go over the horizontal bars, and so that I can complete the assembly. So first thing we do, let me zoom out. Alright, so I'm going to anneal, I'm going to try to anneal just this bend right here. And this bend and this bend. It's not possible to just target that point unless you have a something that you can pinpoint the heat at, but I don't. So it's no big deal. It actually works just fine. So we're going to get a candle going here. Got my air conditioner on, so it's kind of blowing the flame around. Now if I didn't have any air movement in here, the flame would be straight up and it'd be easier to anneal this. So I just want to get the metal soft, so I'm going to go that corner and that corner. See the candle, and that's it. Alright, so move that out of the way. Now I've got a piece of 15 thousandths diameter wire, and the reason I use 15 thousandths even though the crossbars are 12 thousandths, it's so that I don't have too tight of a fit, because all this is going to be glued together anyway, but I want to be able to slide the bars in easily and such. So I got a piece of tape holding the this would represent the crossbar here. So we're going to put this underneath the crossbar. Let me zoom in on this just a second. There, I think you'll get to see that. Now, I'm going to tape down the crossbar. Get that pushed back underneath there. And then I'm going to rotate the horseshoe or the U-shaped bend down, And I'm going to put a piece of tape over it. I'll hold it in place. Like so. Now you see this portion, this leg and this leg, you want to bend this leg over that one and this one over that one. So what I'm going to do, take a screwdriver, got some chisel ply tweezers here, and I'm going to use the screwdriver to hold this crossbar in place so that when I make the bend it doesn't push the crossbar. Do that, and I'm just going to carefully, you can see how easy this wire bends once you anneal it. So that one's over it, and that one's over it. Now I'm going to crimp it down around the crossbar. I'm going to take the tweezers up against the glass and against the bend, and I'm just going to rotate it and squeeze it around it. Just like that. You can do the same thing here. Rotate it and squeeze it around it. See, now that one moved, so I need to squeeze it back. There we go. And just give it a little bit of a squeeze, and that's it. Now we're going to take a sharp chisel blade. I got this handle at Micromark. You can get these blades at Micromark, or you can call this company. Oop, let me zoom out. You can call this company or go to havels.com without the apostrophe there, and you can talk to them about getting, there's the number on the blade, 6200, and it's the chisel blade. If you want to get the surgical blade, that's these, and they are number 11. You get a box of 100 of them. I don't know what the handle part number is for the chisel or for the surgical blades, but this one you can get at this handle you can get at Micromark. You might be able to get the surgical blade handle at Micromark also, but the blades at Micromark cost a lot more than you can buy the 100 pack for. So anyways, getting back to this, now that I've got the wire bent over the crossbar, you want to use a sharp blade. If you don't use a sharp blade, you're going to end up cutting possibly one of your U-shaped bends apart. So you don't want to do that. If you use, the reason why, if it's not sharp, you're putting more pressure on it to cut through, and you may not have time enough to stop the cut before it goes through the other one. So if you use a sharp blade, and this is soft material now since it was annealed, I just get it in there, and then I just wiggle it back and forth until it snaps through. Just like that. And there it is. So now we're going to pull this tape off. And you want to hold your part down because it's soft material and the tape may pull it and bend it out of shape. So you got that. And while taking it off, remember this is crimped around this cross member, so you want to be careful taking it off till it starts sliding easily. Because again, it's annealed, and if you push too hard on it, you're going to bend it out of shape. There we go. Now the last thing to do is I take these pliers here, these flat nose pliers, and I want to make sure that everything's in line. So I just give it an easy squeeze. An easy squeeze, and now everything is lined up. And you want that because when you put your crossbar through and you were going to make a U-shaped bend on the crossbar underneath this horseshoe shaped thing, this horseshoe shaped loop, you don't want anything outside of the same plane as these legs here. So that takes care of all of these lift pin portion of the coupler lift bar. And so I'm going to finish this video now, and in my closing I'm going to tell you why. Alright, so in the last clip I told you you're not going to see the assembly of these coupler lift bars, and I'm ending the video right now. I'm not ending the project, but there's a huge change coming to this project. So I don't want to go any further because I'm going to have to backstep some videos. I'm not going to start a new series. I'm just going to continue on from this video. The next one will be kind of another introduction. I'm not going to explain what it is right now, but I'm going to do that video really quick, probably either today or possibly this weekend, and get it up on YouTube, because I'm really excited about this new direction that I'm taking this project in, and I think you might find it much, much more entertaining, enjoyable to watch, and get a lot more information, tips, and tricks out of. And you'll see maybe some pretty cool stuff. So anyway, you'll see the assembly of these coupler lift bars when I get to that point, going forward with what I'm going to do. So the project's not dead, it's just got a big boost and a lot more excitement and motivation going into it. So I hope you'll stick around for it. The video, or the project, is going to be extended a lot longer probably. I don't know if I'll finish it by the end of the year. I'm going to try to, but that's a tall order for what's going to happen. So anyway, I appreciate your company. I know you're not here, but you're watching, and you're my audience. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate you taking the time to be with me. So anyway, take care, and I hope you're looking forward to the next video.